Deuteronomy 28, listen to this principle. Verse 47. Because, he's speaking to Israel, because you did not serve the Lord your God with joy and a glad heart for the abundance of all things, all the blessings, therefore you shall serve your enemies, whom the Lord will send against you in hunger, thirst, nakedness, and the lack of all things. What's it saying? Very important principle. If you don't rejoice in serving God, you're going to end up serving the enemy. If you don't rejoice in doing right, you're going to end up in rejoicing in unrighteousness. And what's going to happen is, as you rejoice in sin, he says you're going to end up, you are hungry, you're going to be naked, you're going to be suffering all wants, you're going to be without lack, because the more you serve what's not good, the more you don't have, the more you are not full. When you serve that, when you rejoice in what is bad, it ends up in emptiness. Again, those things pornography doesn't make your life richer, it makes your life poorer. Adultery doesn't make your life richer, it makes it poorer. So same with all these things. And it's not just the dramatic things like that, it's the little things as well. Whatever's not of God. You know, there are denominations that have gone largely wholesale into apostasy. And I'm not saying everybody, because a lot of times those denominations, there are some churches that have broken away or they hold true. But there are there, and you wonder why. Have you gone to their services? I'm not talking about any one particular church, but they tend to be the very same denominations that have stopped delighting in God and have stopped rejoicing in God. You go to the services, it tends to be like a funeral service. Proverbs says, "He who strays from the path will end up in the congregation of the dead," or ecclesia, or the church of the dead. Well, that's what's happened in many of those churches. It's the same denominations, and most into apostasy with their stands tend to be the most dead in their worship. They're passionate about their apostasy and their causes, but not about God. So that tells you, if you don't delight in God, that's what you end up. That's what happens. That's dramatic, but it happens. It's a principle. If you don't rejoice in God, you rejoice in the ways of the enemy. Delight yourself in God. Delight yourself in the Lord. Be rooted and grounded in love. Then the more you delight yourself in God, the less you will be tempted in sin. And to the degree that you delight, that same degree you'll be overcoming sin. Now listen to this, Proverbs. Listen to this. Proverbs 5. It's talking to where it says, "My son." It's talking to, "For the lips of an adulteress," and you can read adulterer the same way, "drips honey," meaning smooth. "Smoother than oil is her speech, but in the end she is as bitter as wormwood. Sharp as a two-edged sword, her feet go down to death, her steps take hold of Sheol," like hell. "She doesn't ponder the path of life. Her ways are unstable. She doesn't know it. Now then, my son, listen to me, and do not depart from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her. Don't go near the door of her house, or you will give your strength to others, and your years to the cruel one. And strangers will be filled with your strength, and your hard-earned goods will go to the house of an alien, and you will groan at the end of your life." What's that? It's an example of delighting in what is not of God, adultery. And what's it saying? It says, well, at the beginning it seems sweet. But because it's wrong, it's going to end up working against you, harming you. The more you delight in it, the more it will destroy your life. Now, this is written thousands of years ago. And I've seen it happen today in the 21st century. I've seen it in people's lives. Same thing happen. It is just as true now. One form or the other, it leads to destruction of lives. In one form or the other, that's what happens with adultery. It says, why will you give yourself to that? Because what's going to happen is it's going to take away your life. It's going to take away your family. It's going to take away your life. But then it gives the antidote. Now listen. Drink water from your own cistern, your own well, and fresh water from your own well. Why should your springs, your life, be dispersed above? Why should your streams of water flow in the streets, your life, your life? Let them be yours alone, and rejoice in the wife of your youth. As a loving hind and a graceful doe, let her breast satisfy you at all times. Be exhilarated always with her love. It doesn't say just don't do wrong. It doesn't say just don't do that sin. It doesn't say that. It doesn't just even say be faithful in your marriage, although of course that's part of it. It says rejoice in the wife of your youth. That's the key. Rejoice in the good. Rejoice in what God gave you. Rejoice in what you have. Rejoice in what is legitimately yours. Rejoice in what is a blessing from God. Drink waters from your own cistern. Not somebody else's well. Not the well on the grass that looks greener on the other side, because it always does. It's an illusion. When you get there, same thing. It'll destroy your life. Delight in what is good. Let her satisfy you. Be exhilarated with her love. That's saying there's something that you have to choose to do. Before, you want to overcome the sin, but it's giving you the key. You can't just say, okay, I want to resist this. But you got to have something to not resist over. And so therefore, rejoice in the blessings you have from God. Let yourself be satisfied by your wife, but you have to choose to do that. Choose to rejoice. Choose to be exhilarated. Choose to delight thyself. Take pleasure in what is of God. It may take time, especially if you have problems. It's not just marriage. This applies to everything. It may take time, but practice it. You may not feel it yet, but that's why it says choose to do it. Exhilarate, be satisfied, take pleasure in what is good. And this is not just for men. This is for women. Women, rejoice in the husband of your youth. Your life will be blessed. I'm going to build you up. Rejoice in what is good. What has God given you? Rejoice in that. Don't rejoice in what is not and what's on the other side. Rejoice. If you're being pulled continuously to a particular sin, chances are you're not really rejoicing in the good God's given you. And so you're kind of rejoicing in that to fill you up. If you know something is wrong, stop delighting in it. Stop playing around with it. Stop flirting in your mind with it. Stop delighting with it. It comes up, cut it off.
To find out how you can receive more of Jonathan's teachings, to receive special free gifts, or get in touch, go to hopeoftheworld.org or call toll-free 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's hopeoftheworld.org or call 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's 1-800-937-4821. You can also get more at Jonathan Cahn's Facebook page or write us direct at Hope of the World, Box 1111, Lodi, New Jersey 07644, USA. Hope of the World is dedicated to the goal of spreading God's Word and salvation to every land and people. We do this by spreading the Word throughout the world and sponsoring compassion projects to the most poor and needy around the earth. To get in touch or have a part in God's work, just write to Hope of the World, Box 1111, Lodi, New Jersey 07644, USA. Or go to hopeoftheworld.org or call 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's 1-800-937-4821.